was only a couple of weeks ago that I was moaning about our lack of summer weather. 2 weeks later, well, 2 weeks later to me anyway, it's lovely and warm. It's about 21, 22 degrees and it's only 10:30 in the morning. So I've come out early back onto the Wirral again, but this time to Ness Gardens, and I'll tell you a bit more about the place as we go around. But right now, time to go and pay my money. So here we are, Ness Gardens, literally a mile or two away from Little Neston, where I filmed the remains of the old quay. You may recall that if you've been watching the channel. Now Ness Gardens, fabulous place. It now belongs to Liverpool University, but the history of the place goes back to 1898, when a gentleman by the name of Arthur Kipling Bully bought this land and started to develop his own garden. And he was a philanthropist and an avid horticulturalist, and he was keen to introduce species of plants and trees not native to the UK. So he was obviously a man of some substantial wealth, and he sponsored plant collectors to go abroad and bring back unusual specimens, and he began this wonderful garden which you can see stretching out behind me. Now originally I think it was something like 25 acres. It grew and it grew. It's now 64 acres, and he passed away in 1942, and in 1948 his daughter Lois bequeathed the garden to Liverpool University, and because her father was a lifelong socialist and had already started to open the garden to the public, that was the condition really from Lois, that they respect her father's wishes, continue to develop the garden and to open it to the general public. I've been here many times in the past doing weddings. Yes, you can have a wedding ceremony here. I've not been back for probably 10 years, so I'm quite keen to see what's happened and how it's developed. Already the main entrance and visitor centre has changed completely. It used to be inside the old house, which is behind me. I'll just spin around so you can see. That is Bully's original house that came with the land, and that's where the entrance used to be. Ticket office, call it what you will. So what I've just come through is all new to me. Anyway, time for me to shut up and try and get some photos, I think. Superb views of North Wales across the far side of the Dee estuary, which I'm sure if you've been watching the channel for a while you'll be familiar with the marshes, which you can see very clearly from up here. So we're going to explore This is partly rock garden and partly Mediterranean garden. I have to admit straight off the bat that green-fingered I am not. I can appreciate the beauty of a lovely garden, and this is certainly a fabulous place to come and visit. Ask me what things are, you're going to be lucky to get a straight answer, I'll tell you. So I'm sure all you keen gardeners out there will tell me what I've been photographing when you see the results. What I'm coming out with today, well, I've got the Olympus EM1 Mark II, two lenses. I have the 12-40 and the Lumix 100-300, which you can see is on the camera at the moment. Now, I don't think I'm going to have that much use for the long lens, except when I want to isolate a flower or a shrub and really make it pop from the background. Other than that, for the sort of wider vistas, I think the 12-40 is going to be the go-to lens, but you never know. I mean, it's just fabulous. I just pan you slowly around. This is worthy of any National Trust garden, anywhere that you care to mention. It's just superb. So I'm going to have a good old wander around and see what I can photograph next. I mean, to give you an idea, what is this? What is this behind me? This blooming great tall purple thing? I don't know. But it's going to make a nice photo, I think, with the 100-300. Let's give it a go. So many levels and layers to this garden. Really fantastic. Colours are absolutely wonderful. But of course it is mid-June, it's the 21st actually, so we just had the summer solstice. Very glad that I've come out today because it is incredibly quiet. Hope it's whetting your appetite to want to come and visit. Well worthwhile. I'm not going to give specific advice to anybody wanting to photograph large gardens like this because, of course, each to their own. You may have specific interests in particular plants and shrubs. Alternatively, like me, you might be more interested in the general layout of the place and the views that keep revealing themselves as you go around different corners. But it's trying to isolate images like that and spot particular compositions. I mean, we're approaching some pond down here at the moment, so we're going to go and take a look at that and just keep on looking, I guess. So much to see. I'm not quite sure what they call this. It might be a Belvedere, I don't know, but it's in the style of a straw hut, circular, and it's laid out in such a way, and its purpose is to enable people to have a small, intimate wedding ceremony here, undercover, if it rains. It probably seats, I don't know, maybe 20 people. Interesting. So there we have our little straw hut, and as you can see, it's alongside this rather lovely pond with lilies, and I can see some carp in here as well. Photogenic, yes, but I think in terms of the weather today, it's going to pay to shoot from roughly where I am now, because I've got leaf cover from the tree above me, and depending on how I angle the shot and how I crop it, I can remove the rope and stanchions over to the left hand side there. We'll give it a go anyway. And I've just been talking to myself, calling this tree that I'm stood next to a yew tree. In actual fact, according to the label, which is up here on the branch, it's a Metasequoia Glyptostroboides. I think I said that right as well. Blimey. By the name of Trevor Farrington, I guess that's the name of the sort of subspecies, I don't know, or who it's been named after. But fabulous texture on the trunk, and it does look very much like an old yew tree. I'm sure you can appreciate the location of that bridge and just exactly how many brides and grooms have had their photos taken on that. I know I've done several, that's for sure. Here's a question to pose. I've taken a few close-ups of plants and shrubs, not many, but a few. And I've taken a few of the general lay of the land, if you like. Can I classify them as landscape? It's very much a man-made environment. Let me know what you think. Not quite sure how it's going to work, but I want to try and take a photograph focusing on this old tree stump in the foreground with the pond in the background there. The sun keeps on coming out from behind these sporadic clouds. Lovely backlighting at the moment, so I'm just shooting one-handed here. Goodness me, I hate doing this, but on the one hand, I can't film, talk to the camera and take photographs all at once. Well, if you can hear any noise in the background, it's one of the ground staff on a ride-on mower. There's an awful lot of mowing to be done down here, that's for sure. Well now, for those of you considering a visit to Ness, it's by car half an hour away from Liverpool. For me on public transport it's about an hour and 15 minutes, but it's well worth it, believe me. And it's about half an hour from Chester, so not impossible to get to. In terms of the layout of the place, it's relatively hilly, as you probably gathered, you know, the dell, the valley that I've just been down into and back up out the other side. A lot of steps, but there's an awful lot of wheelchair accessible pathways, one of which is behind me, as you can see. And they very kindly put in lots of benches for old fogies like me to take a breather at. So all in all, I thoroughly recommend it. Photographically, well, as I've already asked the question, are these general shots landscape? I don't know. It's perhaps not what I personally think of as being landscape, the natural landscape. You feel free to argue the toss. Let me know in your comments down below. You might consider them more picture postcard than landscape. I think that's probably a fairer description, to be perfectly honest with you. I've certainly made use of the 100 to 300 lens much more than I expected. You may think of it as being a sports or wildlife lens, given that it's 200 to 600 equivalent on a full frame camera. But it's so useful to get in close to plants without physically having to approach them, like across a pond, and to isolate them from the background. It's one of the things that people always complain about and moan that Micro Four Thirds you can't get separation between foreground and background, shallow depth of field, bokeh. I lose patience sometimes, really do. So we're back at the rock garden again now. We're at the base of it rather than looking down across to North Wales. And I just want to try and isolate some of these fiery plants here. I guess they're seed heads, are they? I don't know. I think when we were kids we used to call them red hot pokers, but there's probably a much more scientific name than that. So again, it's 100 to 300 lens time for these. The area to my left, between me and the Dee estuary out here, is laid out with the intention of it being a picnic area. So if anybody's got young kids, you can see there's a couple of mums down there with toddlers. You can come and have a picnic down here. It's easily accessible with pushchairs and wheelchairs. Gosh, I should work for Ness Garden, shouldn't I? Free advertising. Anyway, on we go. Now, you've probably heard me talking about when your sky isn't exactly interesting, if it's like completely clear blue sky or grey and overcast, look for things to intersect between the landscape and the sky. And what I'm looking at here, let me try and point it out, is this hanging branch here and this hanging branch here. They both fill that gap in the sky without obscuring the distant trees. And here we have a guest walking up towards us, so I'm going to try and get one now. Zoom in a bit more, because I want to try and eradicate the pathway. It's one of those, isn't it? Thank goodness for IBIS and lens stabilisation. Thank goodness for Micro Four Thirds' ability to make good use of image stabilisation, because shooting, one-handed and filming is not really the best way to go about it. Going back to the days when I used to teach photography to mature students at a vocational college, I would never ever suggest shooting a camera one-handed. Of course, that's back in the days of film, analog photography. Anyway, we're going to make our way back up now to the visitor centre, have a cup of tea before we make our way back to Liverpool. Oh look, see, I wasn't lying, visitor centre. A few more steps to negotiate. Really could not ask for better weather. That's a fact. So there we are. I hope you've had a little enjoyment from watching that. Photographically, I don't know, there might be one or two keepers in there. Some sort of what you might call nice photographs, record shots of my visit. Perhaps that's being a bit cruel to myself, I don't know. Anyway, as the sign says, goodbye, have a safe journey home everybody, enjoy your photography, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye for now.